grief is like glitter. It's beautiful in these moments, and then you think you're okay, and it's 6 months later, and it rears its head in those moments where you're like, why is this glitter still on my pants?
Hello, and welcome to Guess Who Died, a podcast where we talk about who died and how we feel about it with Jeff, myself, Julia, and producer Casey in the back. All right, Jeff, I'm asking you again, who died?
Just this week, I'm going to steal somebody's, I bet. Wink Martindale. Were you familiar with Wink?
You didn't steal mine. I've never heard of Wink Martindale.
Okay, well, Chuck Woolery you heard of.
Yes, that's true. Okay.
All right. Wink Martindale, I got to know because of my grandparents. He hosted a show called Tic-Tac-Doe.
Oh, okay.
And the failure on Tic-Tac-Doe was a dragon that would show up and you'd lose your turn. But he was on that for years, and he just passed away this week at 91 years old.
Wow.
So another game show host gone, but definitely not forgotten. He also hosted a show called Gambit. I'm not really familiar with that one, but Tic-Tac-Doe was fun. My grandparents every night had that show on right before The Joker's Wild.
Oh my gosh. I love that. And what was it? I mean, you just got 3 in a row, and if you got your tic-tac-toe, you won the money.
Yeah, you had to
answer questions?
Yeah, you had to answer questions. One person was the X, one person was a yo. It was a lot of fun.
I love the name Wink Martindale. I'm obsessed with that.
Yeah, I think his real name's Winston.
Oh, Wink. Wink. Oh, what a great nickname.
Jeff, I don't know why. I felt like there was more, because I know Wink Martindale, but I'm not familiar with Tic-Tac-Toe.
He probably did because when Game Show Network came out, they were doing a lot of things, and a lot of new things popped up, and he might have, after Tic-Tac-Doe, been on something else, but I am not familiar. Gambit might have been that show. I'm glad you're familiar with him.
Well, of course.
I thought Julia would be.
I thought you were going to steal mine because I feel like only one notable, in my opinion, celebrity has died since we last recorded. So for me, guess who died is Val Kilmer.
Oh my God, yes.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad I didn't steal yours. We all know who Val is.
I know. And of course, I mean, I told a friend of the pod, Michelle, that Val Kilmer was my guess who died. And she said, Iceman. And I said, is that Top Gun? I'm not. So I am not familiar with that too much. But I will tell you, in case Casey will like this, I know Val Kilmer through one singular thing.
What's that?
Not Batman, not Top Gun, MacGruber.
MacGruber. I don't think I've ever seen MacGruber. There might be a reason I've never seen MacGruber.
Shame, Jeffrey. Shame.
Oh, man.
It's so good. It's based off an SNL skit with Will Forte.
Oh, that's right.
And it's, a spoof on MacGyver. Oh, it is so funny. So, yeah, he's in that. And yeah.
He played a great Doc Holliday in Tombstone. Let me tell you what, that's one of those movies, especially us guys, we like to sit and watch. It's one of the newer Westerns that we really got to enjoy, but he was in Top Gun Maverick, and, Lieutenant Iceman, Lieutenant Kazansky, Admiral Kazansky, he was in the movie, and he passed away in the movie.
Wow.
So a little bit of life imitating art, and, he fought throat cancer and wasn't really doing too well over the last, year. You hadn't really heard much about him since Top Gun Maverick came out, and then in the news, he's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a loss. He was a hell of an actor.
Yes, and often played the villain, I feel like. He was, or no, I'm just
know.
thinking of MacGruber.
Yeah, I don't know about that one, Julia. And I know with Top Gun Maverick, and again, I don't know too well, but I know that they pieced his audio together because his throat cancer had taken over, so he couldn't speak very well. So they used a lot of AI, but then they also had his son come in.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And record audio for him so that they would loop all of those together to try to make his speech. So when he had his scenes, he was acting, but the audio was not.
Wow.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, and I think, and as I recall, again, don't quote me, but I think the story goes that Tom Cruise said he would not entertain the film unless Val was included in some capacity.
They had to.
Yeah.
I thought of it last week, and I'm surprised we didn't text each other last week.
Yes.
Because that seems to be a thing.
We've got a text thread now.
Nothing about Wink. Nope. But I thought, I'd be a little safe. I'm not doing a sports figure. I'm not doing anything like that. And hey, that was a very big one.
Yes,
So,
a huge one. And Casey, you saying that reminds me of when Paul Walker died when they were filming Fast and the Furious, and they used his brother in some of the ending scenes and like CGI'd over his face.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a change in the field. But if we talk about Val Kilmer, you have to introduce one other very iconic role of which he held that neither of you have commented. That's not surprising with Julia. But he was Jim Morrison.
Oh, yes.
He was
for the Doors movie.
I mean,
yes.
He lived that role.
He played that role well. He played it so well that it made me not want to have any kind of party in action. I mean, just all the time. I mean, like he was Jim Morrison.
Yeah.
And Meg Ryan was his wife in that movie, or girlfriend. Didn't she play in that movie too?
I don't recall that.
I was thinking about that the other day. I'm like, we'll have to figure that one out. But I believe she was in that with him. And yeah, she was very, very different than she was in Top Gun in that movie for sure.
Absolutely. Well,
we'll have to check that out.
He was an incredible actor, no doubt. And he will be missed.
He will be missed.
I think I had sent a message, a reminder for us that we were recording today. And I said to Jeff, you'll always be my wingman. You can always be my wingman. Like that line is so iconic.
Mm-hmm.
There's just something to it.
It's as cheesy as it is. It's a great line.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, you said he's a great man. Speaking of great people, I am so excited to introduce our guest today. We have a very special person on the podcast who is often in charge of things and is a type A personality, knows how to get things done. But even those types of people still get affected by grief. So it'll be interesting to see how you cope with grief when your life is go, go, go. So I'm excited to introduce our guest, Kate, coming up on the podcast. So stay tuned on Guess Who Died. Olivia's House is an independent, freestanding, nonprofit grief and loss center that supports children and their families before, during, or after a loss, all at no cost. When death enters your house, you are welcome at our house, where families are met with professional care, expert guidance, and resources for children and teens of any age. Nestled in central Pennsylvania, Olivia's House continues to be the premier independent grief and loss center. Welcome back to Guess Who Died with Jeff, Julia, producer Casey, and now joining us in the studio is Kate. Welcome, Kate.
Hello. I dressed for the occasion, but they can't see.
I know. If only this were a video podcast, you all right now would be able to see what Kate is wearing. Kate, I'm going to ask you a question, and then I want you to follow up with talking about what you're wearing, too. But the name of the podcast is Guess Who Died. So, Kate, who died?
Well, if they could see me, they'd see Bob died in this ridiculous red lightning, like he's some kind of, I don't know, rock star or something. But
it looks like a I thought it was a wrestling shirt.
That's a
when
good
you
point.
walked
Yes,
in.
that's exactly what
It's
it
like
looks
your
like.
dad was not doing like Thunderdome cage matches. That's what Matthew said to me when I saw this, when I unveiled this at the event we threw 2 weeks after he passed and at his funeral. So it has made the rounds, and I made a mistake by not making many of them and selling them because it has been a hot commodity.
Yes. Okay, so you wore this to your dad's funeral.
Yep.
And what? And you just made it just one? Did you order it online, custom made?
I ordered it online on Etsy.
Oh
my mom
gosh.
was like, there she goes.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we're talking about your dad's funeral here. This was not even that long ago.
No, 6 months next Saturday.
Wow.
Which is also the day after my mom's birthday and 4 days before his birthday.
Wow. And he would have been how old?
75?
Okay.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
And just looking at the shirt, I feel like he was a fun guy.
He was. I like to blame him for a lot of my shenanigans.
Somebody's fault, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Jeff has never met you before, and just from even your mom's reaction to you buying and making this shirt, her sigh, we can get a vibe from you that you have a big personality.
I do. I do.
Tell us a little bit about, does that come from your dad, like Jeff said?
My dad was definitely a jokester. He was really good at tricking my mom into believing something was real and then being like, what the hell? Like, there was a large chunk of time where my mom had bought a Prius and my dad had said, I signed you up for the Prius Club. They meet every Mondays at Richard's Coffee. And she's like, I don't have time for this. To do what? Sit around and talk about Priuses? This is like when they were brand new. Weeks, months go by and her boss buys a Prius. And my mom is like, are you going to the club? And he looks at her like she's insane. And she came home and was like, Robert. And
Love it.
I just like, and even still, like, even towards the end, every now and then he'd get her with something. And I'm like, he might have dementia, but he still knows how to trick you.
Oh,
like,
gosh.
I love it. I love this guy.
yeah, he's
Yes,
great.
Bob. And Bob, what was his last name?
Harmon.
Bob Harmon. Yep. I love it. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you mentioned dementia. What was that everything going on, or what was going on here with your dad?
So my dad was diagnosed with Parkinson's in 2006. And he told my mom, he was crying in the car. I called my mom, and she said, and she hates this, but she said, thank God it's not something that's going to kill you in 90 days. And the way he tells the story, that's when he realized, okay, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to get active. I'm going to do all these things. In reality, he lies. He embellishes. And it took a couple years, but he dove headfirst into everything he could find about research and medicine. And he would take things to the doctor and be like, what about this? And in 2010, we got involved, probably before then, but we had our first golf tournament for the cure down in Lake Ashton, Florida, where my parents lived. So we did that golf tournament for 11 years. And raised over $500,000 for 100%, which directly to the Michael J. Fox Foundation.
That's great.
Yeah. And it was just, even from day one, my dad got up there in his first speech. He was known to talk way too long about science and the latest on research, where I'd stand in the back and like, wrap it up. But he told them that, and it was in a community that they lived. So everybody knew him, everybody knew of him. And he said, thanks for coming. You're part of my journey now. And this isn't going to end well. You're going to see this not go well, but you're a part of it now. And you're going to come back year after year. And we'll see how this disease progresses. And that's why it's so important to find a cure. So he actually did really well for a very long time. Was a mentor to other Team Fox fundraisers. Ran a support group with my mom. Involved in trials. So was my mom. So my sister and I. And then around COVID, he got dementia. So...
Wow. Yeah. Do those two things often go hand in hand? Parkinson's?
Yeah, actually, every 1 in 2 Parkinson's patients are likely to experience hallucinations or dementia or delusions. So it's not always the really bad delusions. Sometimes it's just visual stuff, but it's really common and we don't talk about it. And it's the thing that we were not prepared for.
Yeah, I didn't know that, Jeff. Did you?
Never knew it. I never knew that.
Yeah.
Wow. How did that present? Like, I mean, were you there, like living close to them? Were you noticing it? Were you hearing stories from your mom?
I live here in York, Pennsylvania, and my parents live in Central Florida. So after COVID, we had seen him in Texas, where my sister lives. We'd all met up together after everyone got their shots, and he was sicker, but it was just Parkinson's. And then I think we knew he had the dementia diagnosis, but it wasn't bad. And then it got to the point, I think a couple summers ago, where I was just like, I can't figure out what is going on here. So I just got on a plane and I went down to Florida. And that's when I was like, this is not sustainable.
Wow.
So a lot of the times I would fly in and say, Mom, this is ridiculous. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. I've already made these appointments, or like that kind of.
Before you came on the pod, I described you as a type A personality.
Yes.
Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay. So what did I say?
Yeah.
You right before
here
you went
are.
down.
You jump in, you make all the
Right.
appointments, you jump into action. Mm-hmm. Wow.
And it also was funny when he ended up in a nursing home, which our plan was always to keep Dad at home. But he broke his elbow probably in August. And my mom said, I'm going to keep him at home because if we send him to this nursing home, he's never coming home. And I said, no, you're not. You can't do that. Yeah. It's too hard. He's so agitated all the time, too. You'd be already following him around all the time. So we moved him to rehab and then assisted living. And even there, he was just, like things would happen and my mom would call me and she's like, I cannot keep having this conversation. I'm like, put me on speakerphone. And there's this guy named Steven. I'm so sorry, Steven. I'm so sorry. I hate you so much, but I can't let it go.
This is Steven call out.
Steven,
episode.
the social worker, the not so social worker, just doing his job, but I was a bully. And at one point I cursed loudly and said, the F you say? And my mom goes, Catherine. And I went, Cecily. And then I just like sat there on the phone. I was like, I will not apologize to him, mother, but I will apologize to you.
These moments, I mean, our tolerance for anything is at it's paper thin.
And when you're the one, I mean, even though he was in a nursing home, she would go every morning before our caregiver came in, and she'd be there at 4 when the caregiver left. And she'd stay with him, feed him dinner until it was time to put him in bed. So she was not released from this 24-hour ongoing support of him. And even when she was at home, they would call and he would do something. He was always up to something, always trying to escape. They would put him at the desk with the nurses and a piece of paper and a pen, like he worked there. And he was so proud. He'd walk in, he'd be like,
oh, like we're greeting you at the reception.
Unreal.
Everybody knew Bob.
Wow. It's really, I mean, it's working with what you have. It's not making a mockery of any, it's this is where his brain is at, not based on, how smart he is, just based on this specific, and so what will make everybody happy, including
And I
him.
think too, sometimes when you're in the thick of it, you need the other people who, my mom is fully capable of doing everything she needs to do to support my father.
Yeah.
But sometimes you need to bring in someone who's going to do the thing you just are so tired and you don't want to do. So if it's me on the phone, if it's me coming down, I mean, my job, luckily, I mean, at this point, I worked for the Michael J. Fox Foundation. So are they going to not let me go see my father with Parkinson's? Like, I can work from anywhere. So hopping on a plane and going down for the weekend, or, calling friends and saying, can you go by the house? Because the more and more you get through some of these diagnoses, like you get so isolated. You don't leave your house. You're embarrassed. I would always take them out, but it's easier to do when you have extra people there. It's really hard to do when you're by yourself. So everybody plays a different role, even if you're far away. My sister can't travel as much because of her job in Texas, but she calls every day and would talk to them for an hour. So if there was something I didn't know about because I'm a little busier, then she would call me and fill me in so that I could call in and say, I'm sorry, what?
Wow. And what have you noticed since? I mean, have things changed? Is your mom still down in Florida?
Yeah, so the house is paid off and she lives there. It's a great community, 2 golf courses, amazing friends. They've been there since 2000, actually, maybe a little bit after. And so she's going to stay there. I wouldn't be surprised if you see her as a York fixture, maybe spending a couple months up in here.
Okay.
But yeah, she's doing really well. We're all suffering differently, but there's this, I've been having a lot of conversations about grief and loss lately, and even prior to losing my dad. And it's different when you have Parkinson's, when you have this long-term loss. People who lose their father right away might say, oh my God, I'll never call him again. I haven't been able to call my dad and ask for advice for over 2 years. So that loss I've already lost. I literally was talking today about anticipatory grief with a friend of mine who from work who is dealing with some dementia and her mother. And I said, any death, any loss is terrible. But I was 20 when my dad told me he was going to die. So I grieved that. Mm-hmm. And then when he started to actually get sick, I would grieve that. When I saw through the Michael J. Fox Foundation what it looked like at the end, that was really hard. When he started to get sick, when he got the dementia diagnosis, the last time I had an actual conversation with him where he was completely lucid. And then you get to the end and like when my mom called, I was in Charlotte for work, and she called me at midnight and I said, oh God, he's gone. And she went, no, we're just in the ICU. And I was like, not helpful. But so, Matt and I jumped on a plane and we were there. We met my sister the next morning and got there. And in that last week is a different kind of loss and grief. And then I actually stayed with him until the end. My mom and my sister couldn't do the last day. So I was there through the end. And so then it happens and it's almost this. And this person I was talking to today said, we need more spaces and people like you whose authenticity shines through, even in weird, bizarre ways. Because there are moments where you just want it to be done for their sake. Mm-hmm. And when it happens, it's peace. It's not, there were some other families I watched really upset and everybody would come in because they didn't make it in time. Somebody asked me also in Lancaster 2 weeks ago, what would you have done differently? And I said, I don't mean to brag, but we did everything right. We knew his wishes. We honored every single one, even when they tried to give him an IV bag and he said no. when he was in hospice and he wasn't fully conscious, I was having a phone conversation with a friend of mine, and she was sobbing. And I said, "Do you want to talk to Dad?" And she said, "Yes." So I had her on speakerphone, but I had the phone kind of on his chest looking at me. And she just was a mess. And she thanked him for everything. And that's when I realized that the legacy that my dad leaves behind is so much bigger than me, my mom, my sister, my husband. It's about the Team Fox family that we had found. So I put out a call on Facebook and said, anybody who wants to call, leave a voicemail, talk to him, have me read an email, I'll do it. And it was horrible, but it was so beautiful. And I think people forget that when you have a timeline, when you know what you're looking at, grief isn't always terrible. Yes, it's not, I don't wish this on anyone, but I kind of equate it to, this is my really silly thing, I equate it to glitter. I love glitter. Your kids love glitter, but oh my God, when you start playing with glitter, it is everywhere. And so then it's a mess, and then it's terrible, and then you're regretting your life choices, and you're like, why did I get this glitter? Grief is like glitter. It's beautiful in these moments where you know you have the time to say what you need to say. It's being able to remind them their legacy is there, giving their friends an opportunity to say goodbye. And then you think you're okay, and it's 6 months later and you can't find your Bob shirt, and you're like, well, I'm not even going to this podcast today. It rears its head in those moments where you're like, why is this glitter still on my pants or on my face or in my hands? But it's still that memory of the person you did everything, hopefully, you could to honor.
You have said so many important things there.
I'm just enamored. Keep talking. I'm loving this.
Yes.
You're saying so many things that have fit so many losses in different ways, and preparing for the end and preparing months and years before the end happens, and then you realize deep inside you were getting yourself ready and didn't even know it until it happened.
Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And anticipatory grief is so real. And you are right. It's a double-edged sword, because it is not, I got a call that my dad died in a car accident and I thought he was fine and young and healthy and now I'll never see him again. Mm-hmm. That is a brain mess that just, totally changes it. It's completely different to be able to say, wow, I had this major loss of this diagnosis in 2006. And while I was going through that loss, my dad could hug me. Mm-hmm. And while I was coping with that, I could call him and hear his voice, and all of those pieces along, you are having these losses and also some comfort along with them. But what anticipatory grief is adrenaline. And as long as you have that terminal diagnosis or that axe hanging over your head, that adrenaline is just building up in your body so that when the person does die, that adrenaline needs to go somewhere. And this is where often you will see, and I'm sure even in Team Fox, being able to kind of put that energy towards something, we need it to go somewhere. And we need to find those coping skills that we talk about, because otherwise it will spiral us. But I love that you took this gift of goodbye that you were given, and you grabbed it by the horns, and you took advantage of getting the videos sent and getting to say goodbye and embracing the awkward, which is like one of our favorite sayings
in the
here.
Poor hospice house. Oh, Lord.
Oh, no.
I am not meant for that kind of awkwardness. I am. I thrive in it. But I one day went up to them and was like, what's that thumbs up? There was like a little sticker next to my dad's name. And is it because he's killing it at hospice? And I put my thumb up, and they look at me and I go, no. Oh. And they go, no, it means we did his paperwork. And I said, so he's not killing it at hospital? My thumb is still up. And then they look at me, and I just slowly back up, and I go outside, and my husband goes, I don't want to know what you just did. It seems weird.
I love that. Oh my
Or when the priest came in our last night together, I was watching The Zodiac Killer Speaks, and I'm like, oh, boop. And he looks at me, and I go, look, we're really into true crime. And, sometimes people hold on for something. I think Dad was waiting to know if he thinks Mr. Allen did it.
Oh, hey, that works.
That is so funny.
Your mom and your sister couldn't be there. What made it easier for you to be able to, not that it was easy, but what made it, what part of you made you be able to do that?
I don't know. I think anybody who knows me, though, would say we're not shocked that you could, and that it was, it wasn't fun, but it was something I could do. My dad, when he would talk to people, and he would take phone calls in the middle of Thanksgiving dinner once, he got up and took a phone call from someone who was just diagnosed. He is someone who was not forced out, but chose to retire because the guy didn't want him there because he had Parkinson's, and used that time in retirement to help so many people. And one of the two most important things he said to people were that you were not alone and that you've got this. And I could not, in my heart, walk away leaving him alone until he was gone. Wow. And I told him, actually right before I closed my eyes, I said, I'm here. I'm in the room. I'm just closing my eyes for a minute. I just want you to know that you're not alone. But if now's the time, that's good. I've got it from here. I've got Mom. I've got Emily. And I will not stop till we find a cure. And I fell asleep for like 5 minutes. When I woke up, he was gone. And so you just can't, I couldn't leave him. I couldn't even leave after the room. That sucked too. It's like, I'm going to go back outside into a world where he's not. And he's still here. And I hear him in how I talk to people in the moments where I sit down. Like last weekend I was in Charlotte and I had like 8 really, really powerful connections with people who were newly diagnosed or had just had someone die, and I could hear him in, what I was saying to people and how I was helping them. So,
wow. It's funny, not funny, but I love that you were able to find these moments of legacy, and that really is going through the bereavement process, is finding that meaning. But at the same time, you talk about not wanting to leave the room after he died and stepping out into the world. And it is those moments that are so heartbreaking. It's like, yeah, I'm sure that in 3 months from now, I'll be connecting with people in Charlotte and seeing my dad's legacy coming through. And that's going to be great. But in this exact moment, I have to move my left and right feet in front of each other and choose to open that door. That is really...
Oh, yeah. I went back into the room a few times, and my poor husband was just standing there with all my stuff. Like, what are we doing here? But, I think that I know myself very well. I know my family very well. And it's weird to now realize you're the patriarch of a family. Like, I'm that person now. Mm-hmm. And so I, of course, lost it. I, of course, was a mess. But I went home, and my job is now to take care of them. And so it's just something I've always known about myself. And people say like, okay, maybe in a month, maybe 6 months, maybe a year, I'll be okay. And I can live his legacy. But my job, my actual paying job, is to live his legacy. And on top of that, our fundraiser for Michael J. Fox Foundation, my husband and I, it was 2 weeks after he was gone. And so we stayed for a couple days to get everything finalized. And then we flew home. And ironically, did not have enough clothes to go down there because I did not prepare for Florida. So I had to go shopping. But we flew home, and we had less than 2 weeks to pull together Shaken and our brand new forum for Parkinson's patients and their families. And that event had 60, 70 people for a first year event. And Shaken had its highest, it was 175 people coming back into the fold I think it was our 8th year. Because it had just happened. So for them, it was a way to grieve that loss as well.
Yeah.
And the passion that you must be bringing to the Michael J. Fox Foundation right now.
Yeah.
It's nothing but love. And that's a strong, strong thing.
Yeah. And to be able to help those people 2 weeks after. I mean, I got up to speak and welcome them, and I said, my dad has. And then I went, oh, had. Mm-hmm. That's the first time I've said that. And that entire room of people were like, oh, my God. Like you could hear a pin drop.
It reminds me of you, Jeff, coming to the mic.
Yeah. When you first talk about it, when you first say it out loud, and I announced when my mom passed a couple of months ago on the air, and you catch yourself. Last night, we were driving home from trivia, and I said something about, I said it's been 2.5 months since Mom died. And I said it, and I'm like, I don't know if I have said that out loud quite like that. It's either passed away or, she's not with us anymore. But I said, my mom died. And it hits you. And no matter how long it's been, it's going to hit. And how are you dealing with the glitter?
Well, this morning wasn't fun, but I found my shirt, so I'm good. I'm a weird griever, and a lot of my friends have said, like, there's no doubt you're going to be okay. And they don't even think I'll have a breakdown. I probably will at some time, and it'll be over the fact that my husband doesn't put the toilet paper back on the roll. And then I'll be like, why am I losing my mind? Oh, it's because I replaced the things I can't control with the things I can. Please put the paper, put it on the roll.
Yeah.
I have a lot of moments where things catch me off guard. It's like it's the lost glitter, it's the glimmer of something. I was pulling photos. We just celebrated our MVPs at Michael J. Fox Foundation this month, and it was one of my dad's favorite events. And I was pulling photos from the events I had attended, and they were all in August and September and July. So I'm scrolling back through my photos, and I see my mom kissing my dad for the last time. I see them holding hands. I see this ridiculous turtle that my husband got me from a store because its name was Tater. And so he got it for free from the bed store because they said, change the record, my husband's in hospice. So the guy was like, here's everything. They came home with so much swag. But I had this little turtle, and so I had it, tied up with, not tied up, but next to his arm while he was sleeping. And when he passed, I stepped out of the room to tell Matthew. And when I came back, like 30 seconds later, they had already cleaned him up. Everything was off. And he was holding the turtle to his chest. And I have a picture of that. That said, when I tried to get the turtle out, he had a death grip on it. I couldn't get that turtle out. I thought I was going to knock myself out. Like his arm would come out and punch me in the head, and then Matthew wouldn't come in the room, so I would just be lying there.
Oh my gosh. Go with the rest of the movie that's just going on here. I know. Oh my gosh.
But like those just, they happen like that. Or we just had our MVP dinner, and we received the Legacy of Impact Award. So out of everybody who raises money for the foundation, they gave us the Legacy of Impact Award this year in my dad's honor. And, he always said, what happens when I'm no longer the $50,000 a year man? Everyone's going to forget about me. And I took everything to not curse while I was on stage, like a told you so kind of thing, because I think everybody knew eventually he was going to get it. And right before I spoke, I let Matthew do an intro. And he warned me, thankfully, that he was going to do this. But he said, anybody who's been affected by Bob, whether it be Bob himself or Cecily or Emily or Kate, please stand up. And more than half the room stood up.
Wow.
And I was just like, oh, no, now I have to speak.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, there's a video of it online, and it was phenomenal. And it was just, everybody was sobbing. And I was really anxious about that because that was like the final speech. Yeah. I mean, I will never stop talking about my dad. But to get up and accept that Legacy Award, because legacy was so important to him.
That is huge. And it almost feels like a continuation of a funeral service to keep talking about that. I want to say, and I want to speak to this because we wouldn't be doing a service of education if we didn't. When you talk about your friends worried that you're going to crash one day, I will share. And what we see from experience and from research is that you do crash when you take all of your grief energy and pour it only into helping others and none into helping yourself. So I am going to say this because if anyone else is listening to this,
don't be like Kate.
They do need to hear the professional chime in here and say that is what leads to the crash, big time.
I'm also the type of person who never knows what they need, and I'm a type 2. I do everything for everyone kind of thing. So it's not surprising to me that when people say like, "What do you need? How can we help?" I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I know how to help others. I don't know how to turn around and do that for myself. But it's in helping other people and sharing his story and letting people know that they're not alone, that I do feel better as I'm helping people. So I think because of my personality, like, sure, I will probably still crash. And who knows when? It could be a year from now. It could be, 2 years from now. It could be 5 years from now. But I don't let the moments of grief ruin my day. I see them as like him just kind of being a jerk and pestering me and being like, what up?
I love that.
So I take a breath, I control it, and I let it out if it needs to come out, and then I keep going.
Good for you.
I feel like I do it like a pressure valve. Every so often, I'll let a little more out, I'll let a little more out, and I'll be good for a couple of days or a week or more. Yeah. And I get it.
And I have like a peer support group at work. So it's all people who work at the foundation who have parents or grandparents with Parkinson's. And so my friend and I actually lost our dads the same day or same week. And she and I are like on the far end, and everybody else is really, so it's kind of funny because they don't know what to ask. They don't know what to be prepared for. But then I tell these wild stories of like poop incidents and like things like, and I'm like, you got to find ways to laugh because you're in it for the long haul, and whatever you need to do, you need to do. But my dad loved laughing. He loved giving crap to people, I mean, he did actually try to give me crap. But
oh my gosh. I can see you are such a joy to talk to and so giving of yourself. And I do want to encourage you to find those ways that you are treating yourself. Because even in these groups, you don't need to be the one leading the charge. You deserve to have a place where you can be cared for. Even in your family, to take on that role of the patriarch, it's a heavy role. You need to be taking care of yourself more than anything. And that is your dad's legacy to you, is to father yourself and to find the father in ourselves that we need sometimes.
So I need more Oreos and chocolate chip cookies.
You got it. What did I put right in front of you today was a pack of Oreos. But your bravery is a testament. Every breath you breathe is a testament to your dad. He is infused in your being, and it's amazing to be in your presence and therefore in Bob's presence, whether he was on the shirt or not, Kate.
I feel like I've gotten to know him just by looking at that shirt. I see that big laugh with his hat on. Was he playing golf that day?
Yeah, that was a golf day. This was the marathon, the New York City Marathon, cheering on his friends.
That's awesome. And then he looked so proud of you in that picture.
Yeah, that's my first wedding, my fake wedding. Not my first. It's the same husband. My wedding, my sham wedding. We were worried that Dad's dementia was progressing so rapidly that he might not be able to get on the plane to come up to Pennsylvania. Wow. It was 2 years ago this month. And so we took the bridal party down to Florida, and we invited 40 of their friends, and we had a fake wedding. And then at the end of the speeches and everything, I said, "We're not done yet." And my sister goes, "Oh my God, is she pregnant?" And I went, "Excuse me, I've been drinking wine all day. Like, what?" And I did I sprang on everyone. They were not pleased. Vow renewal for my parents. And so it was beautiful. My sister was mouthing curse words at me the entire time because she was standing across from me behind my dad, and I was standing behind my mom like, and there's this photo from it that's beautiful. But I was so worried that my dad had done so well. Like that morning, he picks his vest and he throws it over. "Are we getting married? What are we doing?" I was like, "Who are you?" He was so good that day. It was the best I'd ever seen him. And so we started the thing, and I was like, "Do not make him repeat after you. Just ask him the things and tell him to say yes." And so, Bob, we do all these things. And he paused, and I thought, "Oh my God, if he says, 'Who is this?' or 'Where's my wife?' I'm going to lose it." Because with his hallucinations and delusions, he had other wives. And I was like, "Oh, he's going to ask whether they're not invited. It's going to be a thing." But so we get to the point, and he says, "With all my heart," to my mother, and the entire room went and just sobbing. Just sobbing. And then they kissed, and there's this beautiful photo where everyone in the room is sobbing, and my parents are up front, and I'm halfway on the canvas because I got it blown up really big. And when he was in the nursing home, we hung it in the nursing home, and we did all these things.
That is the "with all my heart" picture.
Jeez. I'm glad I mentioned it now.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's a hell of a story.
Oh my gosh.
Beautiful story.
And my mom actually had said a while ago, "Do you want to get your vows renewed?" And my dad said, "No, why?" And then they reversed asked him. My mom said, "I don't want to plan anything." So then I did it as a surprise, and all their friends were there, and it was beautiful.
You're amazing. You are amazing. And the Parkinson's support community is amazing. And it's larger than most people know. Yeah. What do you recommend to any of our listeners that have Parkinson's has entered their lives in some way? What would your recommendation be?
Find a support group. Go to the Michael J. Fox Foundation's website. Absorb any information you can. Have a good doctor that you feel comfortable talking to that doctor about changes in medication. Build a great care team around yourself, and that includes people, not just doctors and therapists and speech therapists and nutritionists. The people are what get you through it. We are Team Fox family. I always say I do not wish Parkinson's on anyone, but if I had to fall into a family, I'm very grateful it was this one. I would call someone and say, "Can you call my dad? He's having a hard time." And then they would. And then my dad go, "Who told John to call?" I'm like, "I don't know." And then we would do the same in reverse. When we had the celebration of life, we had it right before Thanksgiving. So we came home, did Shaken, and then planned a funeral. And we had 22 people from Team Fox come. They flew in from Chicago, New York, from all over to be there for him. So it's, it's a family.
Yeah. Kate, thank you so much for joining us here today. Thank you for sharing not only Bob's legacy, but also his face several times on your shirt with us.
I love that shirt.
This is going to go down in our history. First time and possibly only time a guest wears their loved one on their shirt.
Well,
so.
we are doing, I think I'm going to make extras for Shaken Not Stirred this year so that people can buy them. But I also, we did announce at his funeral, because I'm an overachiever, that we will be in 2026 doing a Bob Harmon Memorial Golf Tournament in Florida. And so all of his friends are like, do we get the shirt? I was like, but you have to wear polo shirts on the I'm like, I guess I can make collared shirts with like tiny bob faces.
There you go.
It sounds like everyone would buy, so I would definitely look into doing that. You are awesome.
If the golden bear can have a golden bear, and if the shark can have a shark, you can have Bob on the shirts and the hats.
Got it. And one thing we like to do at the end of every episode is cheers to your loved ones. So on the count of 3, we will cheers to Bob. 1, 2, 3. To Bob. All right, Kate, thank you so much for being here. It was great talking to you.
Thanks, guys.
Pleasure.
We'll be right back with Guess Who Died?
Guess Who Died is brought to you by Olivia's House, a grief and loss center for children. Olivia's House is a community-funded organization that provides comfort and education to families when they need it most, and we are able to keep our doors open thanks to donations from people just like you. Find out ways to support or get support from Olivia's House by visiting www.oliviashouse.org.
And we're back with Guess Who Died? Jeff, isn't Kate awesome?
When she walked in with the shirt, I knew it was going to be an interesting podcast today.
And that I mean, you said off mic, there were so many pictures on the shirt. I mean, it's a shame this isn't a video podcast because there were probably about 9 different photos on the shirt on this fiery background with like lightning bolts, which is what made it look like WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. But just different pictures of her dad. There was a couple pictures of the two of them. And Jeff just happened to pick out one. And it came with that story.
I was happy I said something about it. I mean, the story was, like I said, it was a beautiful story. And I know she was happy to tell it.
Yes. That she almost didn't come today because she couldn't find the shirt. It was the first thing she said when she walked into the studio. She said, well, I almost didn't come when I couldn't find my Bob shirt. And now she might mass produce them for the golf tournament, the polos. It's incredible.
Amazing. I love it.
Yeah. Wow. One thing I did not get to talk about while Kate was here, and I even printed out this article. There is this woman in the news who research is showing that she can smell Parkinson's disease. Normally, I would have tossed this away as a sort of like eccentric headline. But she's working with the Michael J. Fox Foundation.
Oh, well.
And
okay.
Yes, there's real stuff here. Her husband had Parkinson's and she smelled it on him. So doctors are working with her to see if there is some sort of sebum in the skin that is detectable to some people. The way that some of us can like taste oregano or cilantro like soap or whatever.
My first thought is, I wonder what it smells like.
Right, I know. Isn't that wild?
I've heard people think their dogs can smell cancer.
Yes.
My mom believed that.
Yes.
She thought that her dog Lucky picked up on her cancer when she had it. It's possible. Who knows?
Who are we to say that these things, just because our senses aren't picking up on them?
It's worth a check.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating. So
man, I'm gonna read this.
Yeah, I know. Something interesting to think about.
And learned a little more about Parkinson's. I didn't know today. Didn't know about the dementia that could come with it.
Same.
I read a couple memoirs from Michael J. Fox. And I don't recall him mentioning it. He may have some good reads there.
Because I imagine he's one of the ones that has not been affected by dementia.
I don't believe he has yet.
As far as we know.
But
which is
1 and 2, she said. That's a lot.
Yeah. And yeah, Michael J. Fox's memoirs, Lucky Man is one of them. And I can't remember the title of the other one. But I love
There's
this.
one, Always Looking Up.
Okay.
And No Time Like the Future.
Yes. Okay.
So I already had them ready.
Yeah. Yeah.
But very good books. There's a lot out there you can get information from. Obviously, the Michael J. Fox Foundation website.
Yes.
And,
And that's where you find the community that Kate was really talking about, too. When we said, what advice would you have for anyone affected by Parkinson's or having it in their world? That was the first thing she said was find support. Find support groups. Go on the Michael J. Fox Foundation website, find what's going on in your area and connect with people, because it can be so isolating and it can be so lonely. Kate is one of the awesome ones who can embrace the awkward and can just talk about the the crazy parts of this illness and how it can affect our lives. But not everyone has that ability to be so forthcoming. So to find your people will bring comfort and healing.
Yeah. When bad touches your life, sometimes you can pull roses out of it, and she seems like she's done that.
Yeah. Funny you mentioned Michael J. Fox's book, Lucky Man, too, because that's kind of the theme of that as well, how he feels like he is a lucky man, even in the face of a Parkinson's diagnosis. All right, everyone. Well, thank you for another episode of Guess Who Died. It was great having Kate on here. Jeff, thank you. Casey, thank you again. Everyone, tune in next time to find out who died. Guess Who Died is an Olivia's House production, sponsored in part by the M&M Lissauer Family Foundation.